Hey everybody, Roof Tiger 1776 here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the Mira Safety MB-90 PAPR. This is the powered air purifying respirator here. It's kind of a funny name, sounds like something you get from a doctor, right? Anyway, I wanted to release this review earlier, but I was working with Mira Safety to be fair to them and to give you a fair review of their product. Having said this, Mira Safety may not like what I have to say about their PAPR. Okay, quick disclaimer. I'm not a CBRN expert, and I'm not trained in the medical field. So take what I have to say with a grain of salt. This video is of my personal experiences and opinions, and I'm sharing with you. If I'm wrong with any of my points, feel free to drop a comment below. I'm not associated with Mira Safety in any way, and I purchased my MB-90 PAPR on my own dime, so I'm sorry to say that I don't have any discounts to offer you, just my 2 cents, which is what it's worth. So there's a few different manufacturers when it comes to PAPRs. Mira Safety is not the only option out there. Companies such as Mind Safety Appliances, aka MSA, Dreger, and Micronel produce their own versions of the PAPR. So why get a PAPR? Well, there's 3 main reasons why you want to get this piece of equipment. First of all, it's really cool. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, you can put it on your gear and look cool and run around with this thing. But if that's not enough reason for you, if you work long hours in an environment where you need breathing protection, or more importantly, if you or someone in your family or tribe has issues with one of or a combination of issues like fitness levels, injuries, or physical disabilities. Now, consider this. When breathing through a gas mask, you have 2 factors to deal with. You have dead space and inhaling through layers of filter media. First, dead space is the volume of air that doesn't participate in oxygen and carbon dioxide gas exchange. Technically, the space in your respiratory system between your lungs and your face is dead space. This is why some people claim they have problems breathing with a cloth or paper mask during the recent mask mandates. Using a mask will increase CO2 levels, causing early fatigue and lightheadedness for many users. Also, some manufacturers will design their mask for a dual filter setup for easier breathing. Some say that low lung capacity, aka lung power, is a determining factor, but I think it's a way oversimplified way to go about it. It has more to do with what condition of your health and your fitness that you're in. First, let's cover a little physiology. There are 3 main components: the lungs, the intercostal muscles, and diaphragm muscles. First, we have our lungs, which are elastic like balloons, which contain sacs called alveoli that allow our body to trade gases. Next, the intercostal muscles. They're located between our ribs, and it expands and contracts the rib cage. Its function is immediately apparent when you wear a heavy blanket, a lead vest for taking an x-ray at the dentist, or when you wear a heavy military ballistic vest for the first time. It feels as if breathing takes more of an effort, and this is a problem if you're a chest breather. Okay, and third, the diaphragm muscle. This is located just below the rib cage. It's also responsible for increasing the chest cavity size, creating a vacuum, forcing your lungs to expand when you inhale, and vice versa. Anytime someone has a problem with their respiratory health, fitness, or combination of these factors, will probably need some kind of breathing assistance when wearing a mask during extended periods. This includes children. Anyone who's worn a gas mask or respirator for several hours will tell you that a PAPR is a welcome item, especially when forced air protects against minor leaks and prevents the outside environment from entering the mask. The design. Mira Safety says their PAPR design is based on an Israeli tactical PAPR, but I think ultimately its roots come from the US C-420 CASU, aka the Continuous Air Supply Unit, developed in 1992 and adopted in 1997 for the Apache Attack Helicopter Aircrew Program. The C-420 is still in widespread use for the military, law enforcement, industrial, and civilian applications worldwide today. The C-420 is considered by some to be the standard of CBRN PAPR design. So, the C-240 is still being produced by several companies like MSA, Dreger, and Micronel. Some companies made models with a 3-speed blower selector for the military to include a wire remote, which is plugged into the battery cap and attached to the hose and ran all the way up to the mask inlet. The C-240 design hasn't changed much over the years, and the MB-90 is pretty much appears to be about the same in size, shape, and look. The design is relatively simple and is basically a sealed box containing a 5-volt induction blower fan with ports for the filter canisters and the blower outlet. So far, I've tested the MB-90 with a few masks to include the Mira Safety PAPR, the Avon S10 NBC respirator, and the MSA Millennium gas mask. Some of you guys might be familiar with this from the military or from law enforcement. Now a lot of those masks are replaced by Avon masks. Let's talk about the pros of the MB-90. It's standard, simple, rugged, light, and just under 2 pounds and low profile. Okay. It's extremely simple in operation. It keeps you cooler in hotter months. You use a standard NATO 40mm canisters, as you can see right here. Screws right on. There's several options for securing it to the user. With fresh batteries, it's operational for up to 12 hours, about 4 hours more than other PAPRs on the market today. It makes it much easier to breathe, providing 90 liters of air per minute with new batteries, but gradually reduces to about 75% less by the 11th to 12th hour in my experience. This is the only C420 style PAPR on the market that uses AA battery packs made for first generation military handheld, sort of, GPS receivers. What I used to call the brick. Some people have tried to use the same AA battery pack with the C420 PAPR, but they needed to modify the battery pack to make it work. It's just too wide for the standard PAPRs that are out there, the C420s. Now, there have been D-size battery packs produced in the past, but that means you have another thing to mount on your belt with a separate cord. So this part of my review might ruffle some feathers. I'm going to talk about the cons of the MB-90, and my cons isn't so much about the MB-90, but with Mira Safety itself. Mira Safety advertises on their website that the MB-90 PAPR is compatible with any traditional 40mm NATO threaded gas mask as a feature. Now, if you scroll down the products page close to the bottom, close to the reviews, you'll see an important note stating the included hose is guaranteed to work with the CM6M and CM7M gas masks. Please keep in mind that if you're purchasing the system for any other mask, you may need to purchase a different hose for compatibility. This includes the Avon FM50 and the FM53 models. Technically, the MB-90 is compatible with any traditional 40mm NATO threaded gas mask. If you direct thread the mask to the PAPR, right, it'll work, but good luck holding on to that. I mean, this looks like a major pain. So yeah, it is compatible with any gas mask that's threaded for 40mm. But who's going to carry a rig like this? This is just absurd, okay? It's just not going to work. So they talk about getting a different hose or a compatible hose. Well, so where are you going to get this hose from? Me, I had to modify my hose to work with parts I found on eBay after hours of research. I actually found a hose that I'm confident will work, made by MSA, but it's over $100, and it's on back order for a year. Now, I emailed and expressed my opinions to Mira Safety that I felt that this was extremely misleading when I discovered that the supplied hose didn't work properly with any of the masks I own, including their very own TAPR mask, all of which uses the same traditional 40mm NATO threads. Yes, the hose is threaded with 40mm NATO threads. The problem is the way the outlet hose connector is designed right here. If you look at these threads, right, and there's a flange assembly on top, this is the problem. It's just too thick, so when you put it in the inlet of a mask, it just only allows a few threads to engage. In most cases, only 1/4 rotation of the thread would engage with the mask, making it easy for the hose to disengage and fall off. There's been several, videos and reviews out there, guys running and gunning with this PAPR and with their gas mask, and the hose just pops out, which is terrible in my opinion. Now, this wouldn't even thread. This connection wouldn't even thread into my MSA gas mask. I mean, if you look at this connector right here, and you see the inlet port, you could try to thread it all day, it's not going to work. It's just not compatible, okay? This made me feel that the hose is unacceptable for life and health preservation use. I find it even more misleading when they advertise the MB-90 being used in super cool, super tactical pictures with the TAPR, when the TAPR isn't compatible with the issued breathing hose. I will say that in these pictures they are using a 90-degree elbow, which makes it compatible with the TAPR, but it's not even available to the public yet. Mira Safety did actually answer me back by email. They said, we highly appreciate you sharing your thoughts regarding the matter. Rest assured, we are already working on officially launching the PAPR's 90-degree adapter to be available for purchase on the website. We are hoping that this will fix all compatible issues with third-party gas masks in the future. They did send me a 90-degree adapter. I'll show it to you right here. That's it. Alright. Much better than the old design. Free of charge, and yes, it worked out just fine, but the elbow and supply hose still needed to be altered and modified. This is not a problem for me, but it shouldn't be that complicated. It should be just plug and play. Not everyone is mechanically inclined or handy, and we shouldn't have to work that hard. I honestly hope that they develop a solution that anyone can just easily hook up. Other cons we have with the tapper is it's used indoors with fresh batteries. Might be annoying to others, and might be a bad idea in a tactical situation unless you want the bad guys to know where you are.
So the PAPR can also increase voice and radio comms difficulty, especially with radio comms. You can hear the airflow going through my mask while I'm talking and while I'm breathing. So this might give you a good idea of what it'll sound like when you're using the PAPR with this.
The best thing to do is get a breathing hose that works with the NATO 40mm threaded gas mask. Problem is they're hard to come by, or you'll need to modify the hose that you have. Now, pretty much any hose made for a C420 PAPR should work. Some companies like MSA makes compatible and much better breathing hoses, but are expensive. They're difficult to find, and they're over $100, and on back order for like a year. I have one on back order, and I'll be lucky if I get it by December. If you decide to use a new old stock hose, you need to be very careful. And I don't advise it unless you know what to look for. So I was a quality assurance inspector for shipboard critical systems in the U.S. Navy, and we have to know about materials and their service life. Rubber products have a shelf life of 10 years before it starts to deteriorate, and it'll literally rot, crack, and fall apart. This means that any item that uses rubber material needs to be inspected after 10 years of manufacture. This is why the military requires rubber product manufacturers to include a manufacture month, date, and year on their packaging labels. Okay? If anything, you can just replace the PAPR issued outlet hose fitting with a better connection, preferably a 90-degree. Also, who knows what the hose is exposed to if it's not an original seal packaging. Make sure the packaging is good to go. If anything, you could just replace the PAPR issued outlet hose fitting with a better connection, preferably 90-degree elbow. 90-degree elbows work so much better with the PAPR. They're great because it makes it much easier to route the hose over the shoulder or straight down to the PAPR, reducing the experienced torque on the mask. When you're wearing this with the mask, the hose will tend to move the mask around. There's two ways to carry it. The kit comes with two main options, the belt or the backpack. The belt to me seems to be the best way and most practical way to carry the PAPR, which is easy to access and keeps it clear. The backpack is very simple with a wide torso strap. If I wear that, I like to wear it high on my back to keep it out of the way. You can also get, real quick, you can get a MOLLE option that Mira safety styles that you can mount onto your plate carrier. But turn the unit on and off is next to impossible without help. Also, I'd also recommend a longer breathing hose or some kind of appropriate extension. Those tactical pics you see of the PAPR on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, mounted to the back of a plate carrier have extra long hose lengths with fittings that are next to impossible to source. I wore this rig for my 2-mile ruck march, and I don't normally like doing this because I don't want to look tactical. I want to look like the clueless, quiet guy in the neighborhood, but hey, you know, we got to test this out somehow, right? So anyway, when I was going through the ruck march, I felt like I was slogging through mud. I felt really slow and sluggish until I turned the PAPR on, and it helped me out a lot, actually. I used the belt setup and it worked great. The tapper right here needed the hose to be secured, otherwise the weight and the position of the hose influenced how the tapper positioned on my face, compromising my face seal in many cases. If you plan to use a tapper with the PAPR, I recommend wearing the PAPR in the backpack configuration that comes with the kit and as high on the back as possible with a 90-degree outlet elbow. This way you have the freedom of movement and less chance of losing your face seal. So things considered with this, I recommend using a full face mask instead of a half mask with the PAPR. Full face masks do a much better job with staying in place, whereas the half mask will shift around because the breathing hose will literally move it around. Half masks, like the tapper, is easily torqued out of position, probably due to the elastic cloth harness and the small area it covers, including the complex shapes and contours of the face. Now, if you suffer from dry eye like me, your eyes will be highly irritated depending on the mask you're using, from the air blowing into the eyeballs, like the Millennium mask. It's really irritating to wear them. My eyes get really dry and irritated. For long-term storage, keep the batteries separate from the PAPR. You don't want leaking batteries in the PAPR. If you're using it on a regular basis for working in hazardous environments, get a rechargeable AA batteries and extra battery packs. You'll go through filters faster depending on the environment you're in due to the high flow rate. Proper placement of the PAPR is important depending on your mission. Now, back mounting may not be ideal if you're going to be seated sometimes, and hose riding can be a major issue depending on what you're doing. If the hose disconnects from the mask and is attached to your back, good luck reconnecting it. It's nearly impossible. Also, if it's mounted behind you on a plate carrier, turning it on and off is virtually impossible without some kind of help. For most situations, including tactical, I would wear it on a belt. Those tactical pictures, see if the PAPR mounted on the back, just doesn't work for me, and I don't think it's going to work for a lot of other people. So when it's powered off, really the breathing resistance is just like wearing any mask out there. It's not much different, so that's a plus. If your batteries die, you can still breathe out of it. Okay, endurance. The Mira Safety advertised a 12-hour runtime. I've tested the MB-90's endurance a few times, and I found that it runs strong for 10 to 11 hours. After that, the airflow significantly drops off. Remember that this is in room temperature also, so batteries will react differently in different weather, hot and cold temperatures. The batteries are a little temperamental when it comes to that. So the ability to use AA batteries is a great thing, but it can also create problems if you're careless. After all, the battery pack takes 8 AA batteries, so there's more chances of errors or mistakes. Use brand new, same brand and type batteries every time. Batteries are cells of chemical mixtures that could, at the least, permanently damage your equipment, or at the worst, overheat and explode. It's one thing if it's in your remote control or video game controller, which draws a lot less amperage, but this PAPR has a sealed waterproof battery compartment. That means there's nowhere for the excessive heat or the pressure to go, and you can have a really bad day if it turns for the worse. So about the PAPR at CBRN, I did ask Mira Safety if their MB-90 is NIOSH approved, and their reply was this is not NIOSH approved. However, this has been tested and certified according to the specifications of the Israeli Defense Force. They also mentioned that the MB-90 PAPR can definitely protect the user in a CBR environment, and I believe that. Okay, so in conclusion, these days, new C420 blowers are priced for no less than $1,100. And yes, you can find surplus C420s on eBay, but you don't know what condition it's in and when it was manufactured. I mean, the whole reason why these devices have a 10-year shelf life is primarily because of the seals needed to protect you from the environment. Inside of this box, there's a O-ring gasket that goes all the way around to keep you safe, keep all that dirty air out. And the rubber will generally start to break down in 10 years after manufacture. Give rubber enough time and it'll eventually crumble on you. Good luck in finding a software kit to replace the seals. I highly recommend the MB-90 PAPR if you or someone in your tribe needs one, or if you work in hazardous environments on a normal basis. Mira Safety does need to address the problem with the breathing hose though. It's a great unit for the price point and easy to keep running because it uses standard AA batteries. Just make sure you have a compatible mask that works with your hose, or get a hose or modify one to work with all 40mm NATO threaded hose masks. In the end, I highly recommend the MB-90 PAPR from Mira Safety. If you or someone in your tribe needs one, or if you work in hazardous environments on a normal basis, Mira Safety does need to address a problem with the breathing hose though. It's a great unit for the price point and easy to keep running because it uses standard AA batteries. Just make sure you have a compatible mask that works with your hose, or get a hose, or even modify one to work with all 40mm NATO threaded masks. I hope this review helps some of you in your decisions, and if you'd like, drop any comments below if you like. And remember, be good to one another when you can, stay out of trouble, but if trouble finds you, make sure you have the unfair advantage with planning, gear, and training. Take care, and I'll see you later.